Now is the time for humanity to raise its vibration. It is very important that we uncover our spiritual practice during this time, moving forward into 2021 and 2022. We are experiencing a major quantum leap, and our baseline frequency is raising. The earth itself is awakening, an awakening to its ancient knowledge that has been stored within Mother Gaia for many, many millions of years. And with that awakening of this ancient knowledge, we as human beings are going to be triggered into our awakening. Our interstellar consciousness is very much being reestablished within us all because Mother Gaia is downloading these ancient knowledge so that this earth can begin to enter into what we call a cosmic state. Now, Earth is, right, a planet, a system, a realm. It is always in a cosmic state, but the frequency, the baseline frequency of this Earth was in we call a dark age. It was in, we call a more two-dimensional, third-dimensional expression. Now it's beginning to raise into a fifth-dimensional expression. And we, if humanity, are in that pathway where we're starting to navigate through these higher dimensions that have always been here on the earth, have always been experienced for shamans and healers, and we call wisdom keepers and spiritual teachers. But humanity and the society, the very structure, is raising to be for everyone to step into their fifth dimensional frequency. So when we're moving to 2021, we're going to continue to experience major reconstruction that can seem like destruction, but it's reconstruction, as we're needing to, again, renovate what is old, what is worn, what needs to be updated, and it's going to be in many ways seeming that forced upon us. And of course, we're going to have, we live on a polarity planet, so we're going to have agendas that want to implement their own timeline. Okay, so there's a lot of conflicting timelines, and there's a lot of timeline agenda, I like to say, where we can see groups of extraterrestrial beings, elites, whoever you want to call them, where they have their own sort of agenda for the timeline that they want for our future. Either it's AI sort of timeline, either it's particular timeline where we're keeping this sort of control system, this matrix system running in the future. But the overall timeline for Mother Gaia and humanity, which has already been decided before really Earth was created, it's a part of our natural progression. It's humanity, and our collaboration with Earth is about a timeline that's following in the footsteps of the Pleiades system. And the Pleiades system, again, they experienced in their time, when they were in a similar time as us, a sort of timeline sort of conflict where they had to make a choice. They had to make a difficult choice. And they chose a path, a timeline where, yes, they have technology, very sophisticated technology, but they chose to remain close to nature. Okay? There are other systems out there that did not remain close to nature, and they uprooted themselves. And in doing that, they lost their connection to nature. Okay? Lost their connection to their more tribal essence of themselves. Okay, and I'm sure there's we all can have visions of these sort of extraterrestrial beings and what they look like. Okay, usually they're associated with what I call space poisoning. where, too much time and space, you can become infertile, you can become physically weak, and you can start to lose your sort of physical, what we think of having breasts, having hair, having features, right? Distinct features, right? Such as, the Cherokee eyes, Arabian eyes, these type of distinct features that come with being connected to your tribe and your region on this planet. And, we are deciding a path where we are wanting to keep our individuality, right? Such as the Pleiades have chosen that. But also we want to experience community, closeness with each other, and maintain our more tribal experience with Earth, okay? Because we can very much separate ourselves from that and go way far from that. And there's all kinds of spiritual scripts that talk about what happens when we really uproot ourselves. We can get very lost in our technology, and we're kind of seeing that now with our social media and really all the media is, people can experience, they can get very lost in that. They can feel a lot of just anxiety with that, okay? A lot of confusion, a lot of unrest. And so right now is a very important time for us to raise our baseline frequency through uncovering a spiritual practice, because this is what's going to connect us to the ancient world, where humanity, in order to vibrate, we call golden age or fifth dimension, humanity had to have a spiritual practice, okay, to really make that upgrade. And we must upgrade ourselves right now, because we think of mental illness, or we think of this psychological sort of issues, and all of these kinds of weaknesses, we can say, due to this expanding planet and expanding technology, and things are getting faster, and time is getting faster, and energy is becoming a lot more activated, right? And we can't handle it, because we need to have a sort of practice with it, right? We need to upgrade our system, because we ourselves are just like the computer, right? We, and this has been practiced by the shamans for, thousands of years. We ourselves can access this ancient knowledge of Mother Gaia. And that's why we have all of these spiritual scripts of knowledge about astrology, evolutionary astrology, herbal medicine, and even cosmology, and all of these, the planetary progression, right, is because we actually have a genius inside. And the future of this planet has a lot to do with humanity tapping into that genius and clearing away these low vibrations, okay? And these low vibrations are usually associated with the dark age, of course, but you associate with father mother phobia, paranoia, obsessions, addictions, a lot of fear, a lot of doubt. Usually it's connected to a lot of issues with survival, okay? A lot of issues with survival. We think of materialism, when we think of lust, when we're thinking of self-hate, that's very much about survival, okay? The I am, the self-esteem, the self-worth. So a part of our transition of this planet through these next 3 generations is about really experiencing emotional maturity. And the only way we can really elevate to that sort of status is we do have to navigate through the survival, because in that survival, also pain body, there's a lot of and ancestral curses, generational trauma that we're gonna demand higher energy, strength, talents, gifts to be able to break through that, okay? Because a lot of this survival issue that we have is it's many centuries in the making, okay? And we're starting to really work on our emotional maturity moving forward, because that's what's really going to help us to develop our consciousness, okay? And everything about the future of this planet has a lot to do with our raising of our consciousness as a human species, so that we can start to receive, these creative energy from Gaia, because Gaia has a lot of ancient knowledge that, we talk about Atlantis and Lemuria and pre-dynastic Egypt and other systems, realms. But if we don't have a sort of consciousness to be able to receive that, it's not going to be seeming available, okay, to us. So, Mother Gaia wants to give us this memory of ourselves, this knowledge of ourselves, and in this creativity of ourselves. But we have to kind of be able to make a connection to it. So, a lot of the triggerings of the survival with, like I've mentioned, these low vibrations, again, associated with fear, and a lot of association with the matrix. The only way we're going to be able to really successfully break through that is we're going to have a spiritual practice. And there are so many spiritual practices and lineages of that, from Asia to the Middle East to Africa to, these regions are more ancient than Europe, we'll think of, right? But even Native American spiritual practices. But these spiritual practices I'm referring to, the lineage is very ancient and usually associated with more of indigenous people or tribal people that actually had an experience of a golden age, or a time on Earth where humanity as a whole was in this higher frequency of itself. So with that, the new generations coming in, the Gen Z, my generation, those young kids, and Gen Y, they're going to be already sort of getting the download and already sort of, making that quantum leap. And they're going to be demanding of older generations, especially millennials, and especially millennials and even MTV generation. They're going to be demanding that they be fed this higher vibration, okay? Because the future is just not going to be in desire of commotion, of drama, when we think of, emotional commotional, and not going to be really wanting the sort of power struggle, the sort of dilemmas, and the sort of the deep insecurities, or the low self-worth, low self-esteem. These Gen Z kids I've seen, in my experience, they very much come to this earth like a starseed, and they want to get things done. They don't want to, participate in the fuckery of themselves in this society. They really, they don't have the time for it. Okay, they really want to share their light. I've seen them. They want to share their light, and sharing your light is what we've come here to do, right? But we can get really wrapped up and lost to whatever survival issues, insecurities, phobias, fetishes, obsessions, whatever that is. But these young kids, they come in already got the download from Gaia, and they're saying creative destiny, right? They actually come here with a great vision of this earth, kind of following the footsteps of Pleiades, where they're humanitarians, they're environmentalists, they're painters, they're poets, they're teachers, they're engineers, and they come in and they really want to share. These kids, they want to share, okay? But they're going to need us, you could say the older, to really be able to raise our vibration, so that we can create platforms, and we can create organizations, or can create even institutional reform, or jobs and careers that can be in support of the expansion these Gen Z have ready for us, okay, in the coming of 10 years.